Dear Hamza, dealing with anxious and toxic thoughts on my relationship and purpose. So last year in December, I was at the beach and my GF was off at a town in Brazil. This is my first time being separated from her for a long time. It was a little over a month. And I was getting anxious thoughts about what she was doing as she lived in that town she was at. The thoughts were like, oh, she's cheating, or is she talking to other guys, or is she still interested in me? Does she still like me? This really ruined my trip because I couldn't stop thinking about it. Instead of having fun and enjoying myself, I was consumed by anxious thoughts and even felt a bit depressed. When I got back home, I was still feeling this. Literally no motivation to do anything, not even get out of bed. The only thing I was able to do was play video games, and fap, which is what I did. After a whole year of not playing video games, I did. I take full accountability for this. I'm not trying to pass the blame onto my GF who literally did nothing, or my anxious thoughts. There were even moments I felt that I completely lost her and cried a bit. Now I've discovered my purpose, which is cooking. I absolutely love it and I'm completely obsessed with it. I even have started my own cooking coaching program after following Hamza's course. Just the thoughts are still there. Congratulations on this, by the way. If you're a young man and you've started business and you've made a little bit of progress, you've been taking action, you're already past like 99% of these like fake people who like never take action, entrepreneurs who just obsess about making an online business but don't even do anything about it. So you're already in like the top 1% of young men. Yesterday, I went to my friend's house to watch an NFL game with some girls. I invited her and she came. And for a good 1.5 hours, we stayed hugging, kissing, and just being really close to each other in a really connecting manner. Just when she was leaving, I didn't hear her say goodbye, but I saw her leaving. So I went to say goodbye, but she was not letting me hug her goodbye. I think in a playful manner. I've seen her mad, but it's not like that. But my thoughts and feelings didn't. Today, she was supposed to come over and I was going to cook a risotto milanese with that sounds fucking delicious, bro. I like risotto. Man, you don't need this girl, bro. Let me and the boys come over, man. Let's all go over to Raphael's house, everyone. But she ended up not coming because her dad said she has to study. She said she was sorry and everything, and I understand that she wasn't able to come, but I kept on having thoughts that she was making up excuses not to see me or that she might not like me anymore, and these thoughts and feelings hurt. I try my hardest to stay focused on my work, YouTube, and studies, but I can't because of these thoughts. The only time I can is when I cook, but I can't stay cooking the whole day. Also, I don't want to leave her, so could you guys help me find ways that don't involve this? So Hamza, if you see this and make a video, it would be greatly appreciated. Before I give my advice to Raphael, there's something I'm going to tell you right now. You got onto self-improvement and your life has been lonely since. What you need is more men to get onto this exact same kind of protocol that you got on when you started watching my videos. So there's something I want you to do right now. Scroll down from this video and go click on the subscribe button for this channel. This channel grows. More young guys get onto self-improvement just like you, and you'll end up meeting a guy who's actually like-minded in real life that you can actually become friends with because he's not a total fucking loser like everyone else you know. The more people who see this channel when you subscribe, the channel gets shown around with the algorithm, then the more likely you are to go and meet someone who's actually on this path, which is an amazing like win-win for both of us. This is what I'd advise to Raphael and for any other young man who's feeling very anxious in their relationship. You most likely have the anxious attachment style. So there's multiple attachment styles that we can have. Attachment styles are kind of like dating personalities, and there's like 3 that we can have. There's the secure attachment style, and this is for the healthy people whose parents were never abusive and the parents were always there to love them consistently. And around 50% of people have secure attachment, but most people who are single don't have the secure attachment. So basically 50% of people have the secure attachments, but most of those people are in happy long-term relationships. And so when you're single, when you're currently looking out for someone to date, you're also looking for other single people. More single people are way more likely to be the other 2 styles, and they are anxious and avoidant. Anxious is when you had this scared household. You had this fearful household where, for example, when you cried, sometimes your parents were just neurotic and weird. You cried to get their love, and sometimes they would have screamed in your face as a baby because they were, dealing with their own shit. They were stressed. I remember, this is a memory that comes into my mind quite often, actually. So in 2020 and 2021, the gyms were closed during COVID. And so I bought a pair of gymnastic rings. Let me just show you quickly, like gymnastic rings. I bought a pair of these, and I started taking them out into like this, basically. I took them out into a nearby, like big park nearby, and I'd set it up on the tree, basically in public, and like exercise outdoors because all the gyms were closed, right? And I'd be there every single day. And this one day, this woman, this mother, walks past with a pram, so she's pushing a little baby, and her baby's crying. That's it. Her baby's just crying in the pram. And I can hear her get more and more frustrated as she like walks past me, to the point that I literally hear her go, "Stop your whining, stop your whining, stop your whining." Like basically she's saying, stop crying, to like a little fucking, I don't know, about 2 years old. And then it was fucking brutal. She picked up her baby who was like big enough to walk, and put her on her feet on the floor, and then just started to like basically walk off with the pram, so that her little fucking maybe 2-year-old was like, like trying to like follow her, chase after her for a few seconds. That baby's going to have the anxious attachment style for the rest of her life because of this. Never mind all the other bullshit that this stupid woman's doing at home as well. Think about how brutal that is, that one instance like this could actually change that little baby's future dating personality forever, because they're going to think that when their needs are not met and they are feeling really unhappy and they want to cry, they won't even want to show that to their partner because they'll be so scared. Imagine like you date a girl, a nice, beautiful, feminine woman, and she has this weird, almost mental disorder that she goes and cries in the bathroom instead of coming to you when she cries. Think about how connected you could be if, when your girl is upset, she comes to you, hugs you, and cries whilst her head is buried into your chest, compared to if she like ran away from you, or she like ran into the toilet, quickly cried and then pretended she wasn't crying because she had some bullshit experience like this. You don't realize just how much your future personality, your future dating standards change because of shit that happened in early life like that. The final dating personality attachment style is the avoidance. And that's where your parents were so distant to you when you were a baby that became ingrained as your dating personality. So basically, this is the new age parents who has listened to some of the bullshit advice out there that said that when a baby cries, you should let it cry out because it's, you don't want to train it for it to get used to you coming when it cries. Like, do you get what I mean? There's been this narrative over the last 50 years, like this demonic narrative that parents should let their baby cry out, because if they respond to their baby's cries, you're kind of teaching it that, with positive reinforcement, that you'll come when it cries and you don't want it to cry. And think about how stupid that is, that you're training your baby to eventually not cry for your help because it knows that you're not going to come. So there'll be parents right here today who have got such low intelligence that they've listened to some random stupid psychologist out there that when their baby cries in their room, these parents will literally not even go and check the baby, to the point that after a few months of doing this, the baby just won't cry at all. It's just used to people not coming to help it. It's used to distance. This is also the same thing of like the father who's so materialistic that he just keeps working and working and working. And so he's so distant away from his children. If that happens to you as a child, what's going to happen when you're an adult? When someone's trying to be like really lovey-dovey and cute and try and get closer to you, you're going to keep some distance away from them, because that's the kind of love that you were familiar with as a child. So it seems to me that for this young man who's asked this question, the kind of love that he's familiar with, that you are familiar with, is the anxious attachment style of love, where when you cried randomly, your parents just screamed in your face. Where when you misbehaved, they slapped you, they hit you. Sometimes you didn't even technically misbehave, but for some reason they still slapped you or hit you. Their rules for the household were so inconsistent and ever-changing that you were constantly worried for the next slap or threat or scream. And now you get hypersensitive in your adult dating life. Now, I won't lie to you. I think even a secure person, if their girlfriend was out in like a random town in Brazil and, you know, she had like friends that she was always going out with, drinking with and stuff, even a secure attachment person would feel quite anxious and worried about that. Any sane person is not going to like their partner going out and getting into like a degenerate environment, going out partying, whatever, right? Any sane person is going to know, oh yeah, that's probably going to lead to some kind of bad issue. She's drinking alcohol with guys, of course. But if your girlfriend's like she just lives there because that's where her family is, and you're constantly worried and overthinking, like you said here, then that's probably more of the anxious attachment style. What I'd ask you is, think to yourself, imagine there's like some healthy, non-traumatized, like white person. I'm saying white, like imagine like British white or like privileged American white, just because often if they've got money, white people often I feel like are traumatized the least compared to like black, brown and other cultures. So imagine like a rich white family where like the parents were always just kind and stuff, right? What would your rich white friend think if his girlfriend was out in like living in the hometown that she lives in? Would he be constantly sat there, is she cheating, is she cheating? Probably not, right? Probably not. Now, if his girl was posting onto Snapchat and that she's at this party and then he sees from someone else's Snapchat story that you can see her talking to some guy in like the back of like someone else's Snapchat story. Now, bro, now even this healthy white motherfucker is going to be thinking, wait, that's fucked. Like, who's talking to my girl at a party? She looked like she was kind of interested. Maybe he saw her like put her hand like this or something, right? So even a healthy guy with secure attachments can end up feeling anxious if there's some crazy shit going on. But it doesn't sound to me like there's some crazy shit going on. It sounds to me like you're just overthinking things. Now, well, at least that's what I thought once we got to here. You didn't hear her say goodbye, but I saw her leaving. So that's kind of weird. Maybe she did actually say goodbye, but you're in a negative mental state. I wanted to say goodbye, but she was not letting me hug her goodbye. I think it was in a playful manner. You know what I really think about this? Now, I have the anxious attachment style, so maybe we're all just anxious and this is just me, like, you know, making it worse for you. But truthfully, I do believe that at certain times, your anxious attachment style, your gut feeling is actually very, very right. Very right. I believe that people with the anxious attachment style have a gut feeling that is often more right than anyone else because we're just constantly neurotic with it. For example, my first girlfriend when I was 19 years old, because I had this like undiagnosed anxious attachment style, I knew every guy that had fucked her. They didn't know me. She didn't even know that I knew. But she, you know, we had spoke about like previous experiences, like in a general sense. And I found every single one of them. And I knew for a fact I found every single one of them because I played the mental movie, like the picture in my mind. Okay, so she said that she has had this boyfriend before. Well, it's probably going to be this guy. She said that she's had one hookup before. Okay, so it's going to be this guy because he liked her pictures on Instagram in May of last year. And that's when she said it was around that time. And I was absolutely fucking right. So it's not a good thing. You don't want to know these details, but it's like your gut feeling can be very strong if you have the anxious attachment style. And you know what? I actually think your gut feeling is kind of right. There's something weird happening here because when a girl loves you, honestly, she doesn't play like some weird, cute game where she won't let you like hug her goodbye if everything's been like good, right? You could have been a dick. You could have like, maybe you don't even remember, but you could have made like a joke against her that day. And she then took that as like a bit of an offense and she's now playing a little bit hard to get. That could happen. But on a good day, what I found with women is they don't do this bullshit of like, oh no, you like, you know, in front of publicly as well, like in front of other people. They don't do this bullshit where they're pulling away from you. I found that in public around other people, I am so aware if my girl's pulling away from me, and I know that there's something up because of that. And I think many other young men do this as well. Like I think you'll feel this. So it's just something to bear in mind. I wouldn't go so extreme to say, oh yeah, she's cheating on you, or you know, she likes one of the guys who was there with the NFL. Apologies, I just sneezed. I wouldn't say that she likes one of these other guys in the NFL game or anything. I wouldn't go that far, but I would certainly say like, your relationship's not going to be good if in public when you want to hug her and say goodbye, she's like pushing you away and playing this game whilst like other people get to watch that. You probably don't want to be with a girl, like it's not that deep, but you probably don't want to be with a girl who's playing that kind of game. So I'd speak to her about it. The way to fix all of this is through effective communication. Now, that is like your tool, that's like your sword, your hammer for this kind of relationship issue. When you are feeling really anxious, you've got to effectively communicate to your partner, to your woman, and actually basically just tell them exactly how you feel. And the reason why you do this is because you're basically just going to judge their response. So imagine on a good day, you're feeling really anxious and you end up calling your girl and you just tell her the truth and you say like, oh, I'm actually feeling really anxious. It's so weird. I'm getting like loads of thoughts that like a gut feeling that like something's going on. Like, are you like, you're not cheating, are you? Like you say some shit like that. And of course they're going to say no, but you're going to judge them by their response. This might sound like some blue pill shit, but it really is a powerful tactic. Because if you do this and you effectively communicate how you feel and you say to like your woman, like, when that happened, when we were all watching the NFL game, I started to feel really anxious and I didn't feel good. Like I want to be with my partner who wants to hug me goodbye and doesn't want to play some weird game when I just want to quickly say goodbye. And so I didn't really feel good that day. And you want to see what their response is. Because if your girl's response is like, oh, well, I was just playing a game, then you literally straight away, you just be like, oh, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, no problem, done. Okay, no problem. If you say like, oh yeah, this is something that happened and it made me feel really bad. And then your partner says, oh, well, get over it. Oh, well, it's not that deep. Oh, it's this. They start making excuses, or even worse, they flip it around on you. Well, actually 3 months ago, you did this bullshit. You're dealing with a dickhead at that point. This is why I like effective communication, like genuinely just communicating however you really feel, because anyone's response to that will show you their response to the true you, and it'll show you if you are actually compatible with each other. So if I effectively communicate and my girl is nice and warm and receptive to me every single time like she is, then I know that we're actually compatible, really compatible for each other. There has not been a single time that I've effectively communicated how I've felt or what I've thought about something, and my girl has like kind of aggressively thrown it back in my face, or like, said that I was a loser for it, or tried to make excuses. She always looks so sad and she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't even realize I did that. Like, I'm sorry. I'll try and like not do that next time. When a woman responds like that, or a guy responds like that, or any, friend, family member responds like that, you know that they genuinely respect you. And it's just like one of those human error slips that happen where, sometimes you just randomly swear at someone without meaning to. You get a bit aggressive towards someone without meaning to. Those happen. And if someone apologizes the moment you've effectively told them that it hurt you, then you're absolutely fine. If she flips it on your face, if she acts offensive towards it, if she acts offended and she starts crying and she makes it all about her or any bullshit like that, then you know that there's some kind of like more serious problem. So without knowing more details, that's what I'd suggest right now. I'd say the same thing with her not being able to come. I'd say the same thing, when you said that you couldn't come over, but we had those plans. And I know your dad said like you couldn't, but I just felt like really lonely that day, and I really wish you did come. I know it's not your fault because your dad, said you couldn't come, but I just wanted to tell you like how I felt or what I thought that day, and if I'm honest, I started to get really anxious thinking that maybe you were cheating on that day. And imagine just judging her by her response, because however she responds is going to show her how it's going to show you if you're compatible with each other. And I think that's a really, really powerful tool. So for Raphael and any other anxious attachment style guys out there, start with effective communication. Use that as your tool, as your hammer to deal with these kinds of problems when you feel really anxious, and just judge your woman by her response. If she's nice and kind and warm and receptive when you tell her like, oh, I felt really anxious when this happened, then you know that you've got a good woman there who genuinely cares about you. One other thing I'll just quickly say, when you're going to take this path, understand that you are going to seem less of like an alpha male, like red pill, like sexy man, like the sexy James Bond kind of guy who gets her wet. Doesn't really talk about this shit. But this is the kind of stuff that's needed in a long-term relationship for you, right? You don't want to live like this because, bro, I've been in relationships where I felt like this for 3 fucking years straight. You do not want to live like this. You want to be moving past these problems. And so I think that you must be effectively communicating them. But I think you also must know that every time you use effective communication and you sit your girl down or you text her and say like, oh, I was feeling really anxious when this happened, that you're basically like pussifying yourself. Like you're beta-izing yourself. You're seeming like more of a beta beta male. So when you do one of these moments, understand that straight afterwards or the next day, you want to add a bit more of that sort of sexy, like masculine Adonis version of you, where you want to take her out to a date and you want to be so present and powerful, and you want to use your like deep, sexy voice as you stare into her left eye and you go in for a slow, passionate kiss, and you put your hand on her neck as you kiss her, like do sexy shit like that to counteract how like beta-izing this kind of tactic is. Don't just go full fucking like anxious boyfriend mode who's constantly worried. Make sure you keep up that like masculine version of you where you look to her and say, these are my goals for this year. I'm going to the top and I'm taking you with me. You need to like add in that other aspects, because if you only do that sort of blue pill effective communication, she's going to start to see you as a pussy. If you only do the sort of red pill thing where you act like you've got no weaknesses, she'll be really wet for you and she'll think that you're like the masculine man, but you'll feel like shit inside of your own mind and you don't even get peace. Like you said, you're trying to focus on your studies and stuff and you can't even do it because you've got these thoughts. So you need a balance of both, in my opinion, for a really good relationship. I hope this helps you, Raphael. For any other guy out there who's feeling anxious, click on the top link in the description of this video. You can go and join my free community, which is called Adonis Gang. And inside of there, I have this free program called the Adonis Protocol, which is like this single most powerful self-improvement plan out there, a complete self-improvement plan for beginners to get you to the point where you feel like a normal human being. It's completely for free. It's the top link in the description. I just wanted to help people out there. We have 50,000 members inside of Adonis Gang. That's fucking sick. I thought we only had like 47, so that's fucking sick to see. We have 50,000 members. This is the fastest growing community on this entire website. We have the biggest masculine Discord server out there, and now we have the biggest. We're actually number one on this entire website here. Look at this. On this entire website, we are number one by far. 50,000 members. Fucking sick. And this is a free community you can join right now. My paid community is Adonis School. You don't have to consider joining this just right yet, but if you want my advice, if you want to hop on calls with me, Adonis School is the second link in the description. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. Mwah.